What if your thoughts could be the key to ending your suffering? In this audiobook, uncover how your mind creates the life you live and how shifting your thoughts can lead to true freedom. The power to heal, grow, and thrive is already inside you. It's time to awaken it. Introduction. Welcome to Think Less, Live More. How your thoughts create and end your suffering. If you've ever found yourself caught in a never-ending cycle of overthinking, self-criticism, or emotional turmoil, you're not alone. In fact, it's a common human experience. The problem isn't always the situations we're in. It's the way we interpret and react to them. Our thoughts can either empower us to live fully or trap us in patterns of suffering. This book is an invitation to explore how our thoughts shape our reality and how we can take control of them and to experience peace and freedom in our lives. I'm thrilled to have you here because this journey is not just about understanding the mind, it's about transforming it. We'll dive deep into how thoughts can create suffering, both consciously and unconsciously, and how you can change the way you relate to them. The goal is not to get rid of every thought, but to create a space where you can choose your response, cultivate healing, and ultimately find peace. By the end of this journey, you'll see just how much power you hold in shaping your own experience and how you can begin to live with more clarity, intention, and joy. As you listen, it's important to keep in mind that this is not just a book on theory. It's a guide to practice. The information in these chapters is designed to help you build awareness of your thought patterns, shift your relationship with your mind, and develop self-compassion and mindfulness. These tools will allow you to respond to life's challenges with grace, rather than react with frustration or fear. Before we dive deeper, let me give you a brief overview of the author and the knowledge and wisdom that have gone into crafting this journey. I've spent many years studying how the mind works, particularly the connection between thoughts and emotions. Through my own personal journey, professional work as a therapist, and research, I've come to understand just how much power we have over our own minds. In fact, the practices and strategies you'll find here have transformed the lives of many people, from those struggling with stress, anxiety, and negative thinking, to those simply seeking a deeper connection to themselves. I don't claim to have all the answers, but what I've discovered is that by learning to manage our thoughts, we can significantly change the course of our lives. The foundation of everything we'll explore in this book is the principle of self-awareness. In order to transform our thoughts, we first need to be aware of them. Many of us go through life on autopilot, reacting to situations based on long-held beliefs and patterns, often without realizing how much control we actually have over how we feel and how we respond. Self-awareness allows us to break free from this automatic cycle and choose a different way to engage with the world around us. So, as you listen to this book, set the intention for yourself to understand the power of your thoughts and begin the journey of healing. By learning to observe and shift your thoughts, you'll begin to free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You'll discover how much more peaceful, joyful, and fulfilling life can be when you no longer let your thoughts dictate your emotional state. You don't need to change everything all at once. Just begin with one step at a time, with an open heart and a willingness to explore. By the end of this journey, you'll not only have a deeper understanding of how your thoughts shape your experience, but also practical tools to bring more peace and presence into your everyday life. Let's begin. The journey to understanding the mind and healing through it starts now. Chapter 1. The Nature of Thoughts. What if I told you that the very thing you fear, the thing that causes your pain, isn't real? It's not the world around you, nor is it the people in your life. The true source of your suffering lies inside of you, within your very own thoughts. You're probably reading this because you're tired of feeling stuck, anxious, or overwhelmed by thoughts that seem to come from nowhere. Thoughts that linger long after they're formed. Thoughts that make you question your worth, your purpose, and your place in the world. It's exhausting. You might even wonder, why can't I just turn it off? Why can't I be at peace? Well, what if I told you that the key to your peace, the freedom you long for, is right there, within those thoughts themselves? I know it sounds strange, but hear me out. Our minds are constantly in motion, almost like an endless stream of water, flowing, turning, sometimes chaotic. But here's the thing. We've been taught to focus on the current of that water, to fixate on every ripple, every wave that passes by. The more we try to control it, the more we find ourselves swept away by it. It becomes a never-ending struggle until we learn to let go. In this chapter, we're going to explore the nature of those thoughts. What are they really? And more importantly, how do they shape our lives in ways we don't even realize? By the end of this journey, you'll understand that your thoughts don't have to rule you. In fact, they don't even define you. But let's start from the very beginning. What are thoughts? At the most basic level, thoughts are nothing more than mental events. They're the words, images, sounds, and sensations that arise in our minds, seemingly out of nowhere. But when we break them down, we realize that thoughts aren't tangible. They're not physical objects that we can touch, hold, or see. They exist in the mind and yet seem to affect everything outside of it. Thoughts influence how we feel, how we react, and ultimately, how we experience life. But here's the trick. Just because a thought appears in your mind doesn't mean it's truth. It's simply an event that occurred in your consciousness. And like any event, it doesn't have to stick around. It can rise, pass, and fade, like the morning mist that clears away with the sun's warmth. Unfortunately, most of us hold on to thoughts as if they're permanent fixtures, believing that they are facts, that they define us, that we must react to them. This attachment to thoughts is often unconscious. It's something we do without realizing it. But think about it for a moment. How often do you hold on to a negative thought? A worry about the future? A doubt about your abilities? Maybe it's something someone said to you a while ago that still stings. We replay these thoughts over and over, and each time we fuel the emotions attached to them. We've created a mental loop, a cycle that we can't seem to break. But here's the truth. Just because you think something doesn't make it real, it's not your reality unless you allow it to be. The mind, the ultimate storyteller. Our minds are like storytellers. They take bits of information, experiences, and beliefs and weave them into stories. These stories shape our identity. They define who we are, what we believe, and how we see the world. But the problem arises when we start believing these stories. And this is where suffering begins. You see, the mind often tells us stories that are deeply ingrained in our subconscious. They're stories of inadequacy, fear, or guilt. Perhaps it's a story you've been carrying since childhood, or one you've picked up from society's expectations. Maybe it's a story that tells you that you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed, that you'll always be alone. These stories are powerful, and if you don't recognize them for what they are, they'll shape your reality. The mind's primary function is to make sense of the world. It does so by organizing experiences, memories, and perceptions into a coherent narrative. However, this narrative isn't always an accurate representation of reality. The mind loves to exaggerate, dramatize, and distort the truth. For example, you may have experienced one small failure at work, and suddenly, your mind convinces you that you're a failure in every aspect of your life. Or, you may have been rejected by a friend, and now your mind tells you that you'll never be loved or accepted. These are stories, not truths. And yet, we allow them to govern our lives, creating unnecessary suffering along the way. The power of attachment. So why do we cling to these thoughts and stories? It's simple. We become attached to them. Attachment to thoughts is what keeps us trapped in the cycle of suffering. The moment we attach to a thought, Whether it's about our self-worth, a relationship, or our future, we give it power, and that power grows with every moment we spend holding on to it. But here's the paradox. The more we try to control our thoughts, the more power we give them. The more we resist them, the stronger they become. Have you ever tried to stop thinking about something and found that the more you told yourself, "Don't think about it," the more you couldn't stop thinking about it? This is the power of attachment. The more you try to avoid or suppress a thought, the more it dominates your mind. Think about the last time you were anxious about something. Maybe a job interview, a social event, or an upcoming challenge. Did the more you thought about it, the more anxious you became? This is the cycle of attachment in action. The more we attach to a thought, the more it influences our emotions and the more we react to it. Reinforcing the belief that the thought has power over us, the key to breaking this cycle is understanding that you don't have to identify with your thoughts. They're just mental events, passing by like clouds in the sky. They don't define you. They are not who you are. They're just something that arises in the moment, and then they fade. The less you attach to them, the less power they have. Reclaiming your power. In the next chapters, we'll explore how to reclaim your power from your thoughts. But for now, take a moment to breathe and reflect. What stories have you been telling yourself? What thoughts have you been attaching to? Do they serve you? Do they help you live a life of peace and joy? Or do they keep you trapped in a cycle of fear, worry, and stress? The truth is, you have the power to choose which thoughts to believe, which stories to embrace, and which ones to let go of. But it starts with awareness. By becoming aware of your thoughts, you begin to take the first step toward freedom. So, in this moment, make a decision to no longer let your thoughts control you. Begin to observe them without judgment. And remember, thoughts are not the truth. They are simply events in the mind, and with practice, you can choose to let them go. Chapter 2. The Suffering We Create. What if the pain you're experiencing in your life isn't coming from the outside world, but from the inside? What if you could stop the cycle of suffering right now by simply changing the way you relate to your thoughts? You've probably heard the expression, "You are what you think." While that might sound like a cliche, there's deep truth to it. The thoughts that run through your mind every day have a direct impact on how you experience life, how you see the world, and how you interact with others. The pain you feel, the stress you experience, the anxiety that bubbles up at unexpected times. Often, these are the results of the thoughts you've allowed to take root in your mind. In a very real sense, your suffering begins and ends within your thoughts. Let's take a moment to understand this dynamic. Imagine for a second that you're walking through your day and suddenly, an old memory from the past pops into your mind. Maybe something someone said to you years ago, or a mistake you made that still haunts you. As soon as that memory hits, what happens inside of you? Does your chest tighten? Does your heart race? Does that feeling of dread or regret start to seep in? That moment right there, the feeling you experienced, is an example of how your thoughts create your suffering. That old memory, which is no longer in the present, brought with it a flood of emotional reactions. It's as if that moment from the past is still alive and well, causing you distress right here, right now. But here's the thing. The event that triggered those feelings is long gone. What's left is the thought and the emotional reaction that follows. This is the root of suffering. We get caught in the stories our minds create. When we start attaching to these thoughts, whether they're rooted in the past or based on fears about the future, we end up in a cycle of suffering that's hard to break free from. But before we talk about how to escape, let's first understand just how deep this cycle runs. The power of negative thinking. Negative thinking isn't just a passing phase. It's a habit. And like all habits, it's something that we can control once we become aware of it. But before we get there, Let's take a deeper dive into how negative thinking works. Think back to a time when you were feeling particularly stressed. Maybe it was an overwhelming day at work or an argument with someone you care about. How did your thoughts unfold in that moment? Chances are, you were running through worst-case scenarios, imagining every possible thing that could go wrong. And the more you imagined, the more anxious you felt. This is what I like to call the snowball effect of negative thinking. It starts with a small worry, and before you know it, that worry grows, gaining momentum until it's consuming your entire emotional state. It can be a single thought like, "What if I fail this test?" That thought leads to the belief, "I'm not smart enough to succeed," which then grows into, "I've never been good at anything, so why should this time be different?" And from there, you spiral into panic, anxiety, or frustration. It's a vicious loop, and it's one that we're all familiar with. But what if we could pause the loop? What if, instead of adding more fuel to the fire, we could step back and realize that the entire chain of events started with a single thought, and we don't have to believe it? The illusion of control, one of the most subtle ways that thoughts create suffering, is through the illusion of control. We often convince ourselves that we can control every aspect of our lives, that if we just try hard enough, everything will go the way we want it. But the truth is that there's very little we can actually control. We can't control the future. We can't control other people, and we certainly can't control how every moment unfolds. Yet, time and time again, we convince ourselves that we must have control over every situation. And when things don't go according to plan, we suffer. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself replaying a conversation, wishing you'd said something different? Or how often have you ruminated on a mistake you made, trying to figure out what you could have done to prevent it? All of this stems from a deep desire for control, the desire to fix things, to make them right. But here's the painful truth. You can't control everything, and when you try, you end up exhausting yourself chasing an impossible ideal. This obsession with control is tied to fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of being vulnerable. The more we try to control every detail, the more we heighten our anxiety, because we can never be certain that we'll get it right. This creates a cycle of suffering, where every attempt to control only amplifies the fear and worry within us. Now imagine for a moment that you could let go of that need for control. What if, instead of obsessing over every detail of your day, you simply allowed life to unfold naturally? What if you trusted that you would be okay no matter what happens? It might sound scary at first, but this is where true peace lies, in letting go of the need to control the uncontrollable. The mental narratives we live by. When you really think about it, most of us spend our lives living according to mental narratives we've created. These narratives, these stories about who we are and what we can and cannot do, often determine the way we interact with the world. But these narratives are just that, stories. And as you've probably guessed, many of them are fictional. Take a moment and reflect on your own life. What kind of story does your mind tell you? Maybe you're the overachiever who believes you have to constantly prove your worth through success. Or perhaps you're the victim, the one who's always been overlooked or mistreated. These stories shape your identity, your interactions, and the choices you make. But they are not reality. They are just stories your mind is telling you. The thing is, we become so identified with these narratives that we stop questioning them. We stop asking, "Is this really true?" And instead, we simply live them out. These stories can limit us in ways we don't even realize. They can keep us stuck in jobs we don't enjoy, in relationships that drain us, or in cycles of self-doubt and anxiety. But here's the good news. You have the power to rewrite your story. You don't have to keep living in the narrative your mind has created for you. By becoming aware of these mental stories and choosing to let go of the ones that no longer serve you, you can start creating a new, more empowering narrative, one that is based on possibility, growth, and self-love. Breaking the cycle. Awareness is the first step. The first step to ending your suffering is awareness. Without awareness, you're simply reacting to every thought that arises, allowing each one to control your emotions and behaviors. But with awareness, you begin to break free from the automatic cycle. You can observe your thoughts without becoming attached to them. Here's a powerful exercise. The next time you feel an emotional reaction, whether it's anxiety, anger, or sadness, take a moment to pause. Instead of reacting immediately, ask yourself, what thought triggered this feeling? See if you can trace the emotion back to a specific thought or belief. By becoming aware of the thought, you can begin to create a space between you and it. This space allows you to decide whether you want to continue holding on to the thought or release it. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into how mindfulness and awareness can help you release these thoughts and ultimately reduce the suffering they create. For now, remember, your thoughts are not your truth. They are simply fleeting moments in your mind. And with awareness, you can choose not to let them define you. This section builds on the core idea that your suffering is created by your attachment to thoughts and narratives. The key to ending this suffering lies in awareness and the willingness to change the way you relate to your own thoughts. By becoming more aware, you can take the first step toward true freedom. Freedom from the mental cycles that have kept you trapped for so long. The journey of transformation starts right here, with the decision to observe and let go. Certainly. Here's part 3 of the audiobook, continuing from where we left off. In this section, we will explore how the illusion of control impacts our suffering and how mindfulness offers a path to freedom. The tone remains human, reflective, and helpful, guiding the listener to gradually open up to new possibilities. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Control. What if I told you that the stress and anxiety you're experiencing isn't because of what's happening in your life, but because of the way you're trying to control everything in your life? What if the key to finding peace wasn't in forcing things to happen, but in letting them unfold naturally? If you've ever felt like life is spiraling out of control, I want you to take a moment and reflect. What exactly are you trying to control? Maybe it's your career, your relationships, or your health. Perhaps it's the way others perceive you, or the outcome of a specific event. At its core, our desire to control the world around us often comes from a place of fear. We fear uncertainty, we fear failure, and above all, we fear not being enough. We believe that if we could just control everything, then everything would turn out right, and we'd be happy. But what if the opposite is true? What if the more we try to control, the more we actually amplify our suffering? Take a moment and think about the last time you tried to control something. Maybe you spent hours planning every detail of a vacation, only to find that things didn't go according to plan. Or maybe you tried to control a situation with a friend or loved one, only to end up frustrated or hurt when things didn't unfold as you had hoped. We've all been there. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that by exerting control, we can prevent pain, failure, or disappointment. But in reality, the desire for control is often the very thing that creates our suffering. Why control feels so good, and why it's so harmful. There's a deep psychological reason why we gravitate toward control. It gives us a sense of safety and certainty. When we feel like we have control over our environment, we feel less vulnerable, less exposed to the unpredictability of life. But this need for control is rooted in fear. We want to make sure things go our way because we believe that we know what's best for ourselves, and that if we don't control things, we'll suffer. Think about the last time you felt completely in control. It might have been a time when everything in your life felt organized, when everything went according to plan. For a brief moment, you might have felt a sense of relief or peace. And yet, that feeling was fleeting. Why? Because control is by nature temporary and unstable. Life is unpredictable, and trying to control it only leads to more stress and anxiety when things inevitably slip out of our grasp. The constant striving for control leaves us perpetually anxious because we're always anticipating that something might go wrong. And the more we fear that something might go wrong, the more we try to control it, which only reinforces the cycle of worry and suffering. The desire for control and the fear of uncertainty. You might be thinking, but isn't it good to take action and make plans for the future? Of course, action is important. Planning, organizing, and working toward goals are all vital components of a well-lived life. But there's a difference between healthy action and the unhealthy obsession with control. Healthy action is grounded in flexibility and acceptance, whereas unhealthy control stems from the desire to avoid uncertainty at all costs. In fact, the desire to control everything often arises from a deep fear of uncertainty. The unknown is one of the most powerful sources of anxiety. We fear what we can't predict, what we can't see, and what we can't understand. The idea that we might face something we can't control, whether it's an unexpected event, an emotional challenge, or a difficult relationship, can send us into a tailspin of worry and overthinking. But here's the liberating truth. Uncertainty is part of life. It's not something to be feared or resisted. In fact, when we embrace uncertainty, we open ourselves to the possibility of growth, learning, and new experiences. The more we fight uncertainty, the more we trap ourselves in a rigid, limited mindset. When we stop trying to control everything and simply allow life to unfold, we invite freedom and peace into our lives. The role of mindfulness in letting go of control. So, how do we let go of this need for control? How do we stop trying to micromanage every aspect of our lives and instead allow ourselves to flow with the natural course of events? The answer is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without the need to control or change them. When you're mindful, you're not trying to manipulate your experience. Instead, you're accepting it as it is. This acceptance allows you to let go of the constant urge to control and gives you the space to simply be. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice how often we're trying to control things, and we can start to release that need. For example, if you're anxious about an upcoming event, mindfulness helps you acknowledge the anxiety without getting caught up in it. You can notice the fear, but you don't have to attach to it. You can simply say, "This is how I feel right now, but it doesn't define me, and it doesn't have to control me." The freedom of letting go. Imagine what life would look like if you could fully embrace the idea of letting go. What if you didn't feel the need to control every detail, to have everything go according to plan? What if you could trust the process of life, knowing that whatever happens, you will be okay? Letting go doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means releasing the need to control things beyond your influence. It means trusting that the universe, or life, or whatever higher power you believe in, has its own flow, and that you can align with that flow rather than fight against it. In practical terms, letting go of control could look like this: releasing the need to control others. Instead of trying to fix or change other people, you accept them as they are, allowing them the freedom to be themselves. This doesn't mean that you condone harmful behavior, but it means you stop holding on to the illusion that you can change someone else's choices, trusting that things will unfold as they're meant to. Rather than stressing over every detail of an event or situation, you trust that things will work out in the best way possible. This doesn't mean you stop planning or preparing, but you let go of the idea that you must control every outcome. Embracing uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin to see uncertainty as a space of potential and opportunity. You no longer need everything to be predictable because you understand that uncertainty is where growth and transformation happen. The paradox of control and peace. Here's the paradox. The more you try to control everything, the more you lose your peace, and the less you try to control, the more peace you find. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But when you let go of the need to control, you free yourself from the mental and emotional strain of trying to micromanage life. You stop fighting the current of existence, and instead, you learn how to swim with it. When you release control, you start to experience life more fully. You become more present. You begin to notice the beauty in each moment, instead of being consumed by thoughts about what's next or what might go wrong. Life, in its raw form, becomes something you can truly enjoy without the constant pressure of making it perfect. How to begin letting go of control. The journey to letting go of control isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice, one that takes patience and consistency. But with each step, you'll find that your anxiety decreases, your peace increases, and your relationship with life becomes more fluid and harmonious. Here's a simple practice to help you start letting go of control. 1. Identify the things you're trying to control. Take a moment each day to reflect on what you're trying to control in your life. Is it a particular situation? A person's behavior? A future outcome? Write these things down and then ask yourself, what's the cost of trying to control this? 2. Practice mindfulness. In each moment, observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. When you notice yourself trying to control something, pause and breathe. Let the thought or feeling pass without reacting to it. 3. Accept what you cannot change. There will always be things in life that are beyond your control. Instead of fighting these things, practice accepting them. This doesn't mean resigning yourself to a passive life, but rather recognizing that there is a wisdom in surrender. 4. Cultivate trust. Trust that life is unfolding in the best possible way, even if you can't see the bigger picture. This doesn't mean ignoring the challenges you face, but it does mean believing that, whatever happens, you will have the strength to navigate it. In the next chapter, we'll explore the power of mindfulness in more detail, diving into specific techniques and practices that can help you cultivate this powerful tool in your life. For now, I want you to reflect on the idea of letting go. What would it feel like to trust life a little more? To release the need for control and embrace the unknown with open arms? The freedom that comes with letting go of control is immense, and it all starts with one simple choice: to allow life to unfold as it is, without the constant pressure of making it perfect. Chapter 4. The Power of Mindfulness. What if you could finally break free from the constant chatter of your mind? What if there was a way to stop the cycle of overthinking and worrying about the future, and instead focus fully on the present moment? What if mindfulness could be the key to unlocking a life of peace, joy, and freedom? In the previous chapters, we've explored the deep connection between our thoughts and the suffering we experience. We've looked at how the desire to control, our attachment to mental narratives, and our fear of uncertainty all contribute to a cycle of stress and anxiety. But here's the thing: you don't have to stay stuck in that cycle. There is a way out, and that way is mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just a buzzword or a trendy practice. It is, in fact, one of the most powerful tools for creating lasting change in your life. But what exactly is mindfulness, and how can it help you break free from the chains of overthinking, anxiety, and stress? What is mindfulness? At its core, mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment. It's about paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations with a gentle, non-judgmental awareness. When you practice mindfulness, you become an observer of your experience, rather than getting swept away by it. You don't try to change or fix anything. Instead, you simply notice what's happening without attaching labels like good or bad. Imagine that you're sitting in a quiet room and your mind is racing with thoughts. Maybe you're thinking about your to-do list or worrying about something that might happen in the future. In that moment, mindfulness is the ability to recognize those thoughts without identifying with them. You don't try to stop the thoughts or push them away. Instead, you acknowledge them, accept them, and let them come and go like clouds passing through the sky. This practice of observing without judgment is incredibly powerful. When you learn to observe your thoughts instead of getting caught up in them, you begin to create space between you and your mind. That space is where freedom exists. The benefits of mindfulness. There is a wealth of research that supports the benefits of mindfulness. Studies have shown that regular mindfulness practice can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. It can increase emotional regulation, improve focus and attention, and even enhance your relationships. But perhaps one of the most profound benefits of mindfulness is that it helps you break the cycle of rumination and overthinking. When you're caught in a cycle of negative thinking, your mind has a way of getting stuck in loops. You might replay the same thoughts over and over, creating a sense of mental gridlock. Mindfulness helps you step out of this cycle by teaching you to let go of the need to analyze or fix every thought. It teaches you that thoughts are just that, thoughts. They don't define you, and they don't have to control your emotions or actions. This shift in perspective is a game changer. Once you realize that your thoughts don't hold power over you, you begin to reclaim control over your life. You start to live with more peace, clarity, and presence. The role of breath in mindfulness. One of the simplest and most effective ways to practice mindfulness is through focusing on your breath. The breath is a constant companion, always present in the moment. It serves as a perfect anchor for your attention. When you feel yourself getting caught in your thoughts or emotions, you can always return to your breath as a way to bring yourself back to the present. Here's a simple mindfulness exercise to get you started. 1. Find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably with your back straight but relaxed. 2. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, allowing your body to settle into a comfortable rhythm. 3. Bring your attention to your breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and then leaving your body. Pay attention to the rise and fall of your chest or abdomen as you breathe. 4. As you breathe, thoughts will inevitably arise. When they do, gently acknowledge them without judgment. Simply notice the thought and then return your focus to your breath. 5. If your mind wanders, don't be hard on yourself. Just gently bring your attention back to your breath over and over again. This is the practice, learning to return to the present moment with kindness and patience. This simple practice, when done regularly, can help you cultivate a deep sense of peace and clarity. It also serves as a reminder that you don't have to control your thoughts. Instead, you can observe them with detachment and simply let them pass by. Mindfulness and emotional awareness. Mindfulness also helps you become more aware of your emotions. Often, we suppress or avoid our feelings because we're afraid of experiencing them. We believe that if we allow ourselves to feel sadness, anger, or fear, we'll be overwhelmed or consumed by them. But the truth is, emotions are natural. They're part of being human. Mindfulness teaches you to sit with your emotions without trying to change or fix them. When you feel an emotion arise, you can observe it with curiosity, like you're observing a visitor who has come to your doorstep. You don't push the emotion away or get caught up in it. You simply acknowledge it, allowing it to be present without judgment. For example, if you're feeling anxious about an upcoming event, mindfulness helps you notice the anxiety without getting tangled in the thoughts that fuel it. Instead of spiraling into, "What if this happens? What if I fail?" you can simply say, "I'm feeling anxious right now. This is what it feels like to be anxious. I don't have to act on it." And with that awareness, the intensity of the emotion starts to decrease. The mindfulness of letting go. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is that it helps you let go of things that no longer serve you. It helps you break free from old stories, limiting beliefs, and mental patterns that have kept you stuck in suffering. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to see how often you're holding on to thoughts, emotions, and attachments that cause pain. Mindfulness invites you to release these attachments, not through force or willpower, but through awareness and acceptance. When you become aware of a belief or thought pattern that's causing you suffering, you don't need to fight it. You simply notice it, allow it to be, and then let it go. For example, if you've been carrying around guilt or regret over something from your past, mindfulness allows you to observe that feeling without identifying with it. You can acknowledge that the guilt is there, but you don't have to let it define who you are or how you act. With mindfulness, you realize that you are not your thoughts or emotions. You are the observer of them. The process of letting go through mindfulness is liberating. It creates a sense of lightness and freedom because you no longer feel the need to hold on to every thought or emotion. You start to live with greater ease and fluidity, allowing life to flow naturally without the constant pressure of controlling or analyzing everything. The power of presence. Ultimately, mindfulness is about presence, the ability to be fully immersed in the here and now. When you're present, you stop worrying about the past or future. You stop clinging to things that have already happened or things that might happen. Instead, you engage with life as it is in the moment. This doesn't mean you ignore your responsibilities or stop planning for the future. It simply means that you live with a sense of presence and attention in whatever you're doing. Whether you're eating, walking, working, or having a conversation, mindfulness allows you to be fully engaged with the task at hand. You're not distracted by mental chatter or lost in thought. You're simply here, fully alive in the moment. This practice of presence brings an immense sense of peace. It calms the mind, reduces stress, and helps you connect with the world around you in a deeper, more meaningful way. When you live with mindfulness, you experience life more fully. You savor the small moments, the ones you might have overlooked before. And in doing so, you cultivate a sense of gratitude and joy that's always available, right here, right now. How to deepen your mindfulness practice. As with any practice, the more you engage with mindfulness, the more you will begin to notice its benefits. But mindfulness is not a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey. Here are a few tips for deepening your practice. 1. Practice regularly. Like any new skill, mindfulness requires regular practice. Start with just a few minutes each day and gradually increase the time as you become more comfortable. 2. Be patient with yourself. Mindfulness isn't about perfection. It's about progress. There will be days when your mind feels particularly busy, and that's okay. Simply return to the present moment with kindness and patience. 3. Integrate mindfulness into daily life. You don't have to sit on a cushion for hours to practice mindfulness. You can be mindful while washing dishes, taking a shower, or walking down the street. The key is to be present and fully engaged with whatever you're doing. 4. Stay open to the process. Mindfulness is a transformative practice, but it can also be challenging at times. Stay open to the process and trust that, over time, it will lead to greater peace, clarity, and freedom. Mindfulness is the gateway to letting go. It helps you break free from the grip of your thoughts, emotions, and attachments. It teaches you to live with more presence, more peace, and more ease. And when you let go of the need to control, when you release your attachments to past stories and future fears, you open yourself to a world of possibility. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to integrate mindfulness into your daily life, allowing it to become a natural part of who you are. For now, take a deep breath and know that every moment is an opportunity to begin anew. You don't have to change everything all at once. Start where you are and let mindfulness be your guide. Chapter 5. The stories we tell ourselves. What if everything you believed about yourself wasn't true? What if the stories you've been telling yourself, the ones that have defined your life, are not the reality of who you are? Imagine what could happen if you let go of the narratives that keep you stuck and instead embraced the truth of who you really are. At this point, we've explored how control, overthinking, and mindfulness play a role in our suffering. But there's one more element that's at the core of many of our struggles: the mental narratives we create about ourselves and the world around us. These narratives, often based on our past experiences, beliefs, or fears, shape how we see ourselves, others, and the world. They influence our actions, our relationships, and ultimately, our happiness. The stories we tell ourselves are not always accurate reflections of reality. In fact, many of these stories are distorted by our biases, our insecurities, and our deep-seated fears. They often arise from past wounds, early childhood experiences, and the ways we've been taught to view the world. And while these stories may have served us in the past, they often keep us locked in patterns of thinking and behavior that no longer serve us. The power of mental narratives. Think about the last time you faced a difficult situation. Did you notice the internal dialogue that played out in your mind? Maybe you told yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I always mess things up," or "I can't handle this." These thoughts are examples of mental narratives, the stories we create about ourselves based on our past experiences and fears. Now let's pause for a moment. What would happen if you stopped believing those stories? What if you could step back from the narrative and simply observe it? What if you could see these thoughts for what they are, just thoughts, and not the ultimate truth of who you are? The narratives we tell ourselves often shape our identity. If you've been telling yourself, "I'm not capable," "I'm unworthy," or "I'll never succeed," these stories can become so ingrained that they define your sense of self. But the truth is, these stories are just mental constructs. They are not the essence of who you are. The illusion of the fixed self. One of the most powerful beliefs we hold is the idea of a fixed self. We believe that who we are is determined by our past, by the things we've done or failed to do, by the labels others have placed on us, or by the stories we've internalized over the years. This belief in a fixed self keeps us trapped in the past and creates a sense of limitation. But here's the liberating truth. The self is not fixed. It's fluid, ever-changing, and open to transformation. When we let go of the narrative that we are the sum of our past experiences or the beliefs we've internalized, we open ourselves to the possibility of becoming something new. We begin to realize that we can create our own story, not based on what has happened to us, but based on who we choose to be in the present moment. Mindfulness plays a vital role in breaking free from the fixed self. When we become aware of the thoughts and beliefs that define our identity, we can begin to question them. We can ask ourselves, is this story true? Does this belief serve me? How would I feel if I let go of this story and embraced something new? By observing our mental narratives with mindfulness, we begin to loosen their grip on us. The role of self-compassion in letting go of mental narratives. A key aspect of letting go of the mental stories that define us is practicing self-compassion. For many of us, the narratives we create about ourselves are deeply tied to feelings of shame, guilt, or inadequacy. We might tell ourselves that we're not good enough, that we've failed too many times, or that we'll never be able to change. These stories often come from a place of self-judgment, and they keep us stuck in a cycle of negative thinking. Self-compassion is the antidote to this cycle. It's the practice of treating yourself with kindness, understanding, and patience, just as you would treat a dear friend. When you practice self-compassion, you begin to recognize that it's okay to be imperfect. You realize that mistakes are part of being human and that they don't define your worth. You begin to treat yourself with the same love and care that you would offer to someone you deeply care about. Self-compassion allows you to step back from the critical voice that fuels your mental narratives. Instead of berating yourself for past mistakes or failures, you acknowledge them with a sense of understanding and acceptance. You stop identifying with the negative stories and instead create new narratives, ones that are based on growth, self-love, and possibility. The mindfulness of letting go of the past. So, how do we begin to let go of these mental narratives? How do we break free from the stories that keep us stuck in the past and step into a new, more authentic version of ourselves? The first step is to recognize that you are not your past. You are not defined by the things you've done, the mistakes you've made, or the labels others have placed on you. You are not the sum of your failures or shortcomings. You are the observer of these experiences, not the experience itself. Mindfulness helps us create the space to see our past stories without attaching to them. When we observe our thoughts and memories with awareness, we begin to realize that they are just memories, fragments of the past that no longer have to dictate our present. This realization is incredibly freeing. For example, if you've struggled with feelings of unworthiness because of a past relationship or experience, mindfulness allows you to observe these thoughts without identifying with them. You might say to yourself, "This is a thought, a memory, but it doesn't define who I am today. I am not bound by my past." By practicing mindfulness and self-compassion, you begin to dismantle the stories that no longer serve you. You start to let go of the beliefs that have kept you stuck in fear, shame, or guilt. And in doing so, you create the space for new stories to emerge, stories of possibility, growth, and transformation. The process of rewriting your narrative. Once you've become aware of the mental narratives that define you, the next step is to rewrite them. This doesn't mean simply replacing negative stories with positive affirmations. It means deeply questioning the beliefs you hold about yourself and deciding whether they truly reflect who you are or who you want to become. Here are a few questions to help you begin the process of rewriting your narrative. What stories am I holding on to? Take a moment to reflect on the beliefs or stories you've been telling yourself. Are they based on past experiences? Are they rooted in fear or insecurity? Write them down. Are these stories true? Question the validity of the stories you've been telling yourself. Are they an accurate reflection of who you are? Or are they based on assumptions, past experiences, or limiting beliefs? What would it feel like to let go of this story? Imagine your life without the weight of this narrative. What would it feel like to release the belief that you're not good enough, that you'll never change, or that you're destined to fail? How would you act differently? How would you feel? What new narrative can I create? Once you've let go of the old stories, create new ones. These stories should be based on possibility, growth, and the truth of who you are. For example, instead of "I'm not good enough," rewrite the story as "I am worthy, capable, and deserving of love and success." Instead of "I always fail," rewrite the story as "I am learning and growing from every experience." By repeatedly rewriting your narrative, you begin to embody the person you want to become. Your story no longer defines you. You define your story. Living authentically beyond the narrative. As you let go of the old narratives and begin to embrace new ones, you start to live more authentically. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself or meet the expectations of others. You begin to live from a place of inner truth, guided by your values, desires, and intuition, not by the stories of who you used to be. Living authentically means being true to yourself even when it's difficult. It means stepping into your power and embracing who you are, regardless of external validation or approval. And while this may feel uncomfortable at first, it's the path to true freedom. When you break free from the stories of the past, you unlock your true potential. You begin to live with greater purpose, clarity, and joy. You stop hiding behind the walls of fear and insecurity, and instead, step into the world as the authentic, beautiful person you were always meant to be. The stories we tell ourselves have the power to shape our lives, for better or worse. When we believe the negative narratives that we've internalized, stories of unworthiness, failure, or limitation, we remain stuck in cycles of suffering. But through mindfulness and self-compassion, we can break free from these narratives and create new stories based on growth, possibility, and authenticity. As you move forward on your journey, remember that you are not defined by your past, your mistakes, or the stories you've told yourself. You are the observer of your thoughts and emotions, and you have the power to rewrite your narrative at any moment. By letting go of the old stories that no longer serve you, you open yourself up to a life of freedom, joy, and fulfillment. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to integrate these practices into your daily life, turning mindfulness and self-compassion into habits that can sustain long-term transformation. For now, take a deep breath and remember, the story is still being written, and you hold the pen. Chapter 6. The Power of Daily Practice. What if the life you've always dreamed of, the one where peace, joy, and balance come naturally, could begin today? What if the key to that life was simpler than you thought? Just a few mindful moments a day, grounded in presence and self-compassion. What if it all starts with taking small steps toward integrating mindfulness into your daily routine? In the previous chapters, we've explored the power of mindfulness, self-compassion, and the need to let go of the mental narratives and limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. We've seen how these practices can create space for greater peace and freedom. Now let's take a step further and discuss how to integrate these principles into your everyday life. Mindfulness is not something that only exists in moments of meditation or quiet reflection. It's not confined to specific isolated moments. Mindfulness is a practice that can be woven into every aspect of your life. It's the art of living with full presence, being aware of the moment-to-moment experience without getting lost in mental stories, fears, or distractions. The more you integrate mindfulness into your daily routine, the more you begin to shift from a life of constant striving and dissatisfaction to one of ease and authenticity. It's important to remember that mindfulness is not about achieving perfection. It's about becoming more aware of what's happening right here, right now. It's about noticing the habits of your mind, the stories you tell yourself, and the ways you react to life. It's about coming back to the present moment again and again, and being kind to yourself in the process. The mindfulness of everyday moments. Mindfulness doesn't require that you spend hours in meditation or retreat to a quiet space for extended periods of time. It can be practiced in the smallest of moments, while brushing your teeth, washing dishes, walking to work, or even waiting in line at the grocery store. To illustrate, let's take a common experience that most of us encounter: standing in line. How many times do we find ourselves impatient, restless, or irritated in these situations? Our minds may start racing with thoughts of what we need to do next, or we may judge the person ahead of us for taking too long. In this moment, we have the opportunity to practice mindfulness. When you notice yourself becoming frustrated or anxious, take a moment to pause and bring your attention to your breath. Instead of letting your mind spin out of control, focus on the simple sensation of breathing it in and out. Notice the sensations in your body, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the way the air feels on your skin, the sounds around you. By redirecting your attention to the present moment, you break the cycle of overthinking and create space for calm and acceptance. This practice of mindfulness in everyday moments can be transformative. The more you practice being present in small moments, the the more you train your mind to be present in all aspects of your life. It becomes a habit, a way of being, rather than a special activity you engage in only occasionally. Mindfulness in relationships. Another area where mindfulness can create profound change is in our relationships. Relationships often trigger strong emotional reactions, whether it's frustration with a partner, judgment of a friend, or conflict with a colleague. Our minds can easily become caught in patterns of thought that fuel negative emotions. But mindfulness can help us create more compassionate and present connections with others. The key to mindfulness in relationships is awareness. When you're interacting with someone, whether in a difficult conversation or during a moment of connection, notice how your body feels, what thoughts arise, and how your emotions shift. Are you holding on to judgments, expectations, or past resentments? Are you reacting impulsively or defensively? Mindfulness allows you to observe these reactions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Instead of reacting automatically, you can pause and respond with greater awareness. You might find yourself saying something more thoughtful or practicing patience rather than reacting out of frustration. You can choose to listen deeply to the other person without thinking about what you're going to say next. You can let go of the need to fix or control the situation and instead allow the relationship to unfold naturally. Mindful relationships are built on the foundation of presence, patience, and compassion. When you show up in your relationships with mindfulness, you cultivate an environment of trust and understanding. You become less focused on your own needs and more attuned to the needs of others, which fosters deeper and more meaningful connections. Mindfulness in work and productivity. Mindfulness can also be a powerful tool in the workplace. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily tasks. We can feel overwhelmed by deadlines, emails, and meetings. Or we may be constantly multitasking in an attempt to get everything done. But when we practice mindfulness in our work, we begin to shift from a state of busyness to a state of presence. The first step to mindfulness at work is awareness. Notice how you approach your tasks. Are you rushing through them, feeling stressed or distracted? Or are you fully present, focused, and engaged in the task at hand? When you bring mindfulness to your work, you begin to notice subtle shifts. You might find that you're more focused on the task, that you're completing your work with greater efficiency, or that you're able to prioritize tasks with more clarity. Mindfulness also helps you manage stress by allowing you to take short breaks to reset and recharge, rather than getting caught in the cycle of overwork and burnout. In addition, mindfulness at work can improve your relationships with colleagues and clients. When you listen attentively, respond thoughtfully, and act with presence, you create a positive, collaborative atmosphere. You become more aware of the dynamics at play in your work environment and can navigate challenges with greater ease and composure. Mindfulness of self-care and rest. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget about the importance of rest and self-care. Many of us push ourselves to the limit, believing that we need to be constantly productive in order to be successful. But this constant hustle can lead to burnout, fatigue, and mental exhaustion. Mindfulness helps us reconnect with our bodies and listen to the signals that we need rest. Practicing mindfulness in your self-care routine means taking the time to truly nurture yourself. It means paying attention to how your body feels, recognizing when you're tired or stressed, and giving yourself permission to rest. It might mean taking a walk outside to clear your mind, practicing deep breathing to reduce tension, or simply sitting in silence for a few minutes to recalibrate. Mindfulness also encourages us to be present with our feelings of discomfort or exhaustion. Instead of pushing through, we listen to what our body and mind need. When we rest and recharge mindfully, we restore our energy and return to our tasks with a greater sense of balance and focus. The importance of patience and kindness. As you integrate mindfulness into your daily life, it's essential to cultivate patience and kindness toward yourself. This journey is not about perfection. It's about progress, and progress often comes with setbacks. You may find yourself slipping back into old patterns of thinking, or you might struggle to stay present in the moment. And that's okay. The practice of mindfulness is not about getting it right every time. It's about showing up again and again with a sense of curiosity and openness. When you slip up, don't criticize yourself. Instead, offer yourself kindness and compassion. Remind yourself that this is a journey, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Patience is key to this process. Change doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to cultivate new habits, especially when it comes to shifting your relationship with your thoughts, emotions, and reactions. Be patient with yourself and trust that with consistent practice, you will begin to see the results you desire. Creating a mindful environment. One final aspect of integrating mindfulness into your daily life is creating a mindful environment. This involves cultivating spaces that support your well-being, whether it's your physical surroundings or the people you interact with. You can create a mindful environment by decluttering your space, choosing to surround yourself with things that bring you peace, and engaging in activities that nourish your soul. It's about setting up your environment in a way that encourages presence, relaxation, and self-care. In addition, be mindful of the people you interact with. Are you surrounded by supportive, positive individuals who encourage your growth? Or do you find yourself engaging in relationships that drain your energy or create unnecessary stress? Surrounding yourself with mindful people who share your values can help reinforce the positive changes you're making in your life. Integrating mindfulness into your daily life is not about making grand gestures or finding the perfect meditation routine. It's about bringing awareness and presence to the simple, everyday moments. Whether you're eating, working, driving, or talking to someone, mindfulness is about being fully engaged in the experience without judgment. The more you practice mindfulness in your daily routine, the more it becomes a natural part of your life. It's not something you do for a few minutes a day. It's a way of being. With mindfulness, you move through life with greater ease, less stress, and a deeper sense of connection to yourself and others. Remember, this is a journey. It's okay to take small steps and celebrate the progress you make. Each moment of mindfulness is a step toward a more peaceful, authentic, and fulfilling life. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to maintain mindfulness and self-compassion in the face of life's challenges, and how to use these tools to navigate difficult emotions and situations with grace. Chapter 7. Embracing struggle with compassion. What if I told you that your struggles, the challenges you face, and the moments of discomfort are not obstacles but opportunities? What if the difficult emotions you experience could become the stepping stones to your deepest transformation? Life's challenges don't have to define you. They can refine you. In the previous sections, we've explored how mindfulness and self-compassion can create a sense of peace and presence in our lives. But what happens when life doesn't go according to plan? When challenges, pain, or adversity show up at our doorstep, how do we maintain our mindfulness practice and continue to embody self-compassion in the face of hardship? The truth is, life will always present challenges. Whether it's a personal crisis, a difficult relationship, a job setback, or the emotional waves that seem to hit us from nowhere, we cannot avoid suffering. But what we can control is how we respond to these challenges. And this is where mindfulness and self-compassion truly shine. When we encounter hardship, it's natural to feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or anxious. It's easy to slip into the narrative that this shouldn't be happening, or I can't handle this. But the key is to remember that suffering is part of the human experience. It's not something to be avoided, but something to be understood, embraced, and worked through. And the practices of mindfulness and self-compassion allow us to navigate this process with more ease, grace, and resilience. Mindfulness in times of crisis. During a crisis, our emotions can feel like a tidal wave, threatening to drown us in their intensity. Whether we're dealing with the loss of a loved one, a breakup, financial hardship, or an unexpected health diagnosis, the storm of emotions can be overwhelming. In these moments, it's easy to feel like we're losing control, like we're at the mercy of our emotions. Mindfulness offers us a lifeline in these moments. Instead of reacting automatically to our emotions or getting swept away by fear, anxiety, or sadness, we can use mindfulness to ground ourselves in the present moment. We can pause, take a deep breath, and observe what we're feeling without judgment. We can acknowledge our pain, our fear, or our sadness without letting it define us. In times of crisis, mindfulness helps us create the space between stimulus and response. Rather than reacting impulsively, we can choose to respond with awareness. For example, instead of letting panic take over, we can observe the feeling of panic as it arises and simply acknowledge, this is what panic feels like. It's uncomfortable, but I can be with it. I am not my panic. This creates space for us to feel our emotions without letting them control us. The role of self-compassion in suffering. In addition to mindfulness, self-compassion is an essential tool for navigating life's challenges. When we experience hardship, our inner critic often becomes louder. We may find ourselves thinking, why is this happening to me? Or, I'm not strong enough to handle this. These thoughts can create a cycle of self-blame and guilt, making it even harder to cope with the situation. Self-compassion breaks this cycle. It's the practice of treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and care that you would offer to a loved one who is suffering. When we practice self-compassion during times of hardship, we allow ourselves to experience the fullness of our emotions without judgment. We acknowledge that it's okay to feel sad, scared, or angry, and that we don't have to be perfect or strong in these moments. We don't need to have all the answers. We simply need to be kind to ourselves and give ourselves permission to feel what we feel. In addition to this, self-compassion reminds us that we are not alone in our suffering. Every person on this planet faces challenges. Pain is a universal experience, and when we practice self-compassion, we can tap into this shared humanity. We can remind ourselves, I am not the only one going through this. Other people have faced similar challenges and they have made it through. I am not alone. Transforming pain into growth. Another powerful aspect of mindfulness and self-compassion during challenging times is the ability to transform pain into growth. When we experience suffering, it's natural to want to avoid or escape it. We might engage in unhealthy coping mechanisms, like numbing out through distractions, substances, or overworking ourselves. But mindfulness invites us to lean into our pain, not as a means of suffering endlessly, but as an opportunity for transformation. Pain is a teacher. It's through pain that we often discover our deepest strengths, our truest desires, and our most authentic selves. Mindfulness helps us to see pain as a catalyst for growth, rather than something to be avoided. By being present with our pain and responding with self-compassion, we can begin to learn from it. What is this experience teaching us? What can we learn about ourselves, our values, and our priorities in this moment of hardship? For example, if we're going through a tough time in a relationship, mindfulness helps us to reflect on the dynamics of that relationship without judgment. We can ask ourselves, what am I learning from this situation? How can I grow from this experience? What boundaries or changes do I need to make moving forward? Through this mindful reflection, pain becomes a process of deep learning. Rather than getting stuck in despair or anger, we shift from a mindset of why me to what can I learn from this? Managing difficult emotions with awareness. Emotions are powerful forces. They have the ability to uplift us, but they also have the potential to overwhelm us. When life gets tough, we may find ourselves caught in waves of emotions that feel too big to handle, whether it's anger, fear, sadness, or frustration. In these moments, mindfulness helps us to manage our emotions with awareness rather than being swept away by them. Instead of denying or suppressing difficult emotions, mindfulness invites us to fully experience them. When anger arises, we can notice the physical sensations in our body, tightness in the chest, heat in the face, and simply acknowledge, I am feeling angry right now. This is a natural emotion, and I can be with it. By being present with the emotion, without judging it or pushing it away, we allow it to move through us. Over time, we begin to notice that emotions are temporary. They come and go. In addition, mindfulness helps us create a healthier relationship with our emotions. We no longer see them as good or bad, but simply as part of the human experience. When we stop labeling emotions as negative, we take away their power over us. Instead of being overwhelmed by anger or fear, we see these emotions as signals that need attention, not as permanent states that define us. The power of acceptance in difficult times. Acceptance is a key principle in mindfulness and self-compassion. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation or giving up. It doesn't mean that we approve of what's happening or that we stop trying to make things better. It simply means acknowledging reality as it is, without resistance. It's about accepting things as they are right now, even if they're uncomfortable or painful. When we resist our emotions or our circumstances, we create additional suffering. We create inner conflict because we're trying to fight against reality. But when we practice acceptance, we stop fighting and start moving with life. We acknowledge, this is what's happening right now, and I am here to experience it fully. By accepting the present moment as it is, we free ourselves from the struggle and open ourselves to peace. For example, if we're experiencing grief, acceptance allows us to be with the grief without resisting it. We don't try to push it away or force ourselves to move on before we're ready. We simply let the grief be there, and we allow ourselves to feel it fully. This doesn't mean that we give up on healing or moving forward. It simply means that we give ourselves permission to process the emotions in our own time. Self-compassionate action in the face of adversity. Self-compassion is not just about how we treat ourselves when things go wrong. It's also about taking compassionate action. In times of adversity, we can still make choices that support our well-being and growth. But these choices are guided by self-compassion rather than self-criticism or fear. For example, if you're struggling with a difficult situation at work, self-compassionate action might look like setting healthy boundaries with your colleagues, asking for help when needed, or taking a break to recharge. It might mean speaking kindly to yourself when you make a mistake, rather than beating yourself up. In difficult times, it's easy to get caught in the mindset of, I have to do this alone. But self-compassion reminds us that it's okay to ask for support, take breaks, and show ourselves kindness. Self-compassionate action is rooted in the understanding that you are worthy of care, even in challenging moments. It's about showing up for yourself in the best way possible, even when the circumstances are less than ideal. It's about treating yourself with the same love and care that you would offer a friend going through a difficult time. Life's challenges are an inevitable part of the human experience, but they don't have to define us. With mindfulness and self-compassion, we can navigate even the most difficult times with greater ease, understanding, and resilience. Rather than seeing challenges as obstacles to our happiness, we can begin to see them as opportunities for growth, learning, and transformation. Mindfulness helps us create space between ourselves and our reactions, allowing us to be present with our emotions without being controlled by them. Self-compassion allows us to meet our struggles with kindness and understanding, treating ourselves as we would a dear friend in need. And through these practices, we can transform our pain into a source of strength and growth. In the next chapter, We will explore how to maintain these practices in the long term and how to continue growing and evolving even after we've faced significant challenges. Chapter 8: Building Resilience and Consistency. What if I told you that the journey you're on, the journey of self-awareness, peace, and personal growth, doesn't end? That each day, each moment, is an opportunity to build something deeper, more resilient, and more authentic? What if you could create a practice that becomes as natural as breathing, something that supports you, no matter what life throws your way? Throughout the earlier parts of this book, we've discussed how mindfulness and self-compassion can change your life in profound ways. These practices help you break free from limiting beliefs, navigate challenges with grace, and cultivate a sense of peace and presence in your everyday life. But here's the reality: this journey doesn't stop. The key to lasting transformation is consistency, resilience, and the willingness to stay on the path even when things get tough. So how do you maintain mindfulness and self-compassion over the long haul? How do you ensure that these practices don't become just a temporary solution, but a permanent part of your life? The answer lies in building habits, creating supportive environments, and being patient with yourself as you continue to grow. The importance of habit and routine. One of the most effective ways to sustain mindfulness and self-compassion is by making them part of your daily routine. Much like any other habit, the more you practice mindfulness, the more it becomes second nature. When mindfulness becomes integrated into your daily life, it no longer feels like something you have to do. It becomes something you do because it feels natural, beneficial, and grounding. Start by identifying small, easy-to-integrate practices that you can include in your routine. It doesn't need to be a lengthy meditation session every day, although if that's something you enjoy, it can be. The key is consistency. If you're just beginning, try setting aside 5 to 10 minutes each morning or evening to practice mindfulness. You can use this time for breathing exercises, body scans, or simply focusing on the present moment. Another great habit is incorporating mindfulness into activities you already do. For example, you can practice mindful eating by focusing on the texture, taste, and smell of your food. You can also practice mindfulness while walking, driving, or during conversations with others. The more these practices are woven into your daily life, the more sustainable they become. It's also helpful to find an accountability system or a community that supports your practice. This could be a meditation group, a yoga class, or a friend you check in with regularly to discuss your mindfulness journeys. Being part of a supportive environment will help reinforce your practice and keep you engaged over the long term. Resilience. Bouncing back with mindful strength. In life, challenges will inevitably arise. There will be moments when you feel overwhelmed, when your mindfulness practice feels distant, or when self-compassion seems harder to access. But it's during these difficult moments that your practice can be your greatest ally. The key is to build resilience, the ability to stay grounded and return to your center even when life throws you off course. Resilience doesn't mean never experiencing difficulty or pain. It's about being able to weather the storms and bounce back stronger. Mindfulness allows you to develop this kind of resilience. By cultivating awareness of your thoughts and emotions, you can more easily notice when you're beginning to slip into negative patterns of thinking or behavior. You can recognize when stress, anxiety, or frustration are building up and take steps to reset before they take over. One powerful technique for building resilience is the practice of self-regulation. This involves learning how to manage your emotions and physical responses in times of stress. When you feel triggered or upset, take a moment to pause and focus on your breath. Notice where you feel tension in your body and consciously relax those areas. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel upset or stressed, but that you don't have to react impulsively. Instead, give yourself space to respond mindfully. Another way to build resilience is by developing a mindset of growth through adversity. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn something new about yourself. When you face setbacks, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience help me grow? By reframing difficult situations in this way, you begin to see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities for personal development, creating a supportive environment for growth. Your environment plays a significant role in sustaining your mindfulness and self-compassion practices. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, stress, or unhealthy influences, it will be harder to stay grounded and present. That's why it's important to create an environment that supports your well-being and reinforces the practices you're trying to cultivate. Start by looking at your physical environment. Are there any spaces in your home or workplace that cause you stress or distraction? Consider creating a calm, peaceful space where you can practice mindfulness or simply relax. This could be as simple as setting up a corner with comfortable seating, plants, soft lighting, and any items that help you feel at ease. A space dedicated to relaxation and mindfulness can serve as a reminder to slow down and be present. Next, consider the people in your life. Are there individuals who bring out the best in you, who support your growth and well-being? Or are there relationships that drain your energy, cause you stress, or trigger old patterns of thinking? Surrounding yourself with people who share your values and support your practices can be incredibly helpful. Seek out relationships that are nurturing, and don't be afraid to set boundaries with people who are toxic or unsupportive. Finally, look at your digital environment. With the rise of social media and constant connectivity, it's easy to get distracted and overwhelmed by the noise of the online world. Consider doing a digital detox or setting boundaries around your screen time. Follow accounts, read articles, and engage with content that inspires and uplifts you. And avoid those that trigger negative emotions or reinforce limiting beliefs. Patience. Trusting the process of growth. In the fast-paced world we live in, we're often conditioned to expect immediate results. We want quick fixes, instant gratification, and tangible outcomes. But true transformation, especially when it comes to mindfulness and self-compassion, is a slow, steady process. It's about trusting that every small step you take is building towards something greater. Patience is a cornerstone of sustainable mindfulness practice. It's easy to get discouraged if you don't see immediate results or if you find yourself slipping back into old habits. But the key is to remember that change takes time. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. When you're feeling frustrated or impatient with your progress, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Each moment you spend practicing mindfulness or self-compassion is a moment of growth. Even on the days when it feels difficult, even when you feel like you're not making progress, you are. Over time, these small moments of practice accumulate, and they will begin to show up in your life in unexpected ways. Mindfulness in times of change. As life inevitably changes, so too should our practices. Change is one of the few constants in life, and it's something that can either be a source of stress or an opportunity for growth. When you're facing change, whether it's a new job, moving to a new place, or going through a life transition, mindfulness can help you stay centered and grounded. During times of change, our minds can easily get caught up in worry or fear of the unknown. Mindfulness teaches us to let go of these fears and focus on what is happening in the present moment. We don't need to know exactly how everything will unfold. We just need to stay present, take one step at a time, and trust that the process will unfold as it should. Self-compassion also plays a key role during times of change. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we're going through transitions. We might feel insecure, anxious, or uncertain. But self-compassion reminds us that it's okay to feel these emotions. It's okay not to have everything figured out. We don't need to have all the answers. We just need to treat ourselves with kindness and allow ourselves to move through the change at our own pace. Celebrating progress and growth. Finally, it's important to celebrate your progress. As you continue on this journey of mindfulness and self-compassion, take time to acknowledge and honor the growth you've made. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that there's always more to do, but it's equally important to pause and reflect on how far you've come. Celebrate the small victories, whether it's noticing a shift in your mindset, being able to respond more mindfully in a difficult situation, or simply taking a few moments to relax and breathe deeply. These moments are powerful, and they are the building blocks of lasting transformation. When we celebrate our progress, no matter how small, we reinforce the positive changes we've made. We remind ourselves that the journey is worthwhile, and that every step we take is bringing us closer to the life we desire. Maintaining mindfulness and self-compassion over the long term requires resilience, patience, and consistent practice. By building habits, creating a supportive environment, and trusting the process of growth, we can ensure that these practices become an integral part of our daily lives. Mindfulness is not a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey, one that unfolds slowly and steadily, like a seed growing into a beautiful, resilient tree. Remember, this is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up for yourself every day, being patient with the process, and trusting that each step you take is moving you closer to the peace and presence you seek. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to share these practices with others, how to use your growth to inspire and support those around you, and how to create a ripple effect of mindfulness and compassion in the world. Chapter 9. Creating a ripple effect of compassion. What if your mindfulness and self-compassion journey wasn't just for you? What if it was the key to creating a world where people are kinder to one another, where compassion flows freely, and where the collective well-being of society is uplifted? Imagine the power of spreading what you've learned, one person, one interaction, one community at a time. By now, you've likely experienced the profound benefits of mindfulness and self-compassion in your own life. These practices have allowed you to transform your relationship with yourself, giving you the tools to navigate life's challenges with grace, understanding, and presence. But what if the ultimate goal of your mindfulness journey isn't just personal transformation, but the ability to spread these practices to others? What if you could create a ripple effect that extends far beyond your own life and touches the lives of everyone you encounter? The truth is, mindfulness and self-compassion don't just benefit the individual, they can benefit the collective. The more we embody these practices in our lives, the more we influence the world around us. Our actions, our words, and our energy have the power to inspire others to live with more awareness, kindness, and understanding. This ripple effect can create a more compassionate world where people are not only kinder to themselves, but also to each other. In this chapter, we'll explore how to share your growth with others and create a ripple effect that transforms relationships, communities, and even the world at large. By sharing your practice, you inspire others to embrace mindfulness and self-compassion, creating a collective movement toward greater peace and well-being. Leading by example. The power of presence. One of the most powerful ways to share mindfulness and self-compassion with others is simply by embodying these practices yourself. You don't need to teach mindfulness or give advice. You can lead by example. When others see you handling stress with calmness, responding to difficulties with compassion, and treating yourself with kindness, they begin to take notice. Presence is a key aspect of mindfulness. Being fully present in each moment, especially in interactions with others, can be incredibly powerful. When you engage with someone, whether it's a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger, do so with your full attention. Listen deeply without judgment, respond thoughtfully, and show up with empathy. This kind of presence is contagious. It creates a space for others to feel heard, understood, and valued. It also invites others to bring their own mindfulness into the conversation, creating a more compassionate exchange. In addition to presence, the way you respond to challenges can also serve as an example. When you face adversity or difficult emotions, practicing mindfulness and self-compassion in front of others shows them how they can handle similar situations with grace. It sends the message that it's okay to be human, to experience pain, to make mistakes, and to show vulnerability, and that we don't need to react impulsively or harshly to life's difficulties. By leading through example, you inspire others to embrace their own mindfulness journey. You become a living testament to the transformative power of these practices. Cultivating compassionate relationships. Mindfulness and self-compassion are not just personal practices, they are relational practices. They have the power to deeply impact the way we relate to others. When we cultivate mindfulness, we become more aware of the needs and emotions of those around us. We can respond with empathy, kindness, and understanding instead of reacting out of habit or frustration. This creates deeper, more meaningful connections. In relationships, whether they are romantic, familial, or friendships, self-compassion allows us to be patient with ourselves and others. We recognize that everyone is doing the best they can, and we offer kindness even in moments of conflict or disagreement. This doesn't mean we avoid conflict. It means we approach it with an open heart, willing to listen, understand, and find common ground. Mindfulness also helps us to be more aware of our own triggers and patterns in relationships. For example, if we notice ourselves getting defensive or upset during an argument, mindfulness allows us to pause and check in with ourselves. What's really going on here? Why am I reacting this way? Is there something I need to address within myself before I engage? This self-awareness creates space for healthier, more compassionate communication. Self-compassion plays a huge role in relationships as well. When we treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, we naturally extend that same kindness to others. It's much harder to be patient and understanding with others if we're constantly being hard on ourselves. By practicing self-compassion, we not only improve our own well-being, but also create an environment of care and kindness in our relationships. Bringing mindfulness into communities. When mindfulness and self-compassion are practiced within communities, they have the power to create profound change. Whether you're part of a local neighborhood, a workplace, a religious or spiritual group, or even an online community, these practices can help foster a sense of belonging, support, and collective well-being. In communities, mindfulness helps us to be present with each other, to listen deeply, and to respond with care. It encourages collaboration rather than competition, empathy over judgment, and understanding over assumptions. A mindful community is one where people feel seen and heard, where there is space for everyone's voice, and where everyone's well-being is prioritized. Self-compassion in communities creates an environment of support and encouragement. When we practice self-compassion, we begin to recognize the inherent worth of every individual. We are more likely to lift each other up rather than tearing each other down. Instead of focusing on perfection or external success, we begin to value authenticity, kindness, and mutual care. Creating mindful and compassionate communities also means supporting those who are struggling, offering help when needed, and being patient with one another. It's about recognizing that everyone has their own battles, and sometimes the greatest gift we can offer is simply being there for someone else with no judgment or expectation. Spreading mindfulness through service and social change. One of the most profound ways to share mindfulness and self-compassion with the world is through service and social change. When we practice mindfulness, we become more attuned to the suffering around us, and we naturally feel a desire to alleviate it. This can manifest in many forms: volunteering, supporting causes we believe in, advocating for social justice, or simply helping a neighbor in need. Mindfulness helps us approach service with a sense of presence and compassion. Instead of offering help from a place of obligation or guilt, we offer help from a place of genuine care and awareness. We recognize that the act of giving is as much a gift for us as it is for those we are helping. Serving others with mindfulness creates a deep sense of connection and purpose. In addition to service, mindfulness can also play a powerful role in social change. When we become mindful of the inequities, injustices, and suffering in the world, we can't help but feel called to take action. But this action doesn't come from anger or frustration. It comes from a place of compassion and understanding. Mindfulness helps us to stay grounded and centered as we work for change, ensuring that we remain compassionate even in the face of adversity. Self-compassion is also essential in this work. It allows us to approach social change with patience and care, understanding that the journey toward a more just and compassionate world is a long one. It also reminds us that we need to care for ourselves in the process, ensuring that we don't burn out or lose sight of our own well-being. Inspiring change in the world. Through small actions, you don't need to make grand gestures to create change. Often, it's the small, everyday actions that have the most significant impact. Whether it's offering a kind word to someone who's struggling, listening deeply to a friend in need, or simply practicing mindfulness in your daily life, these small actions create a ripple effect. Mindfulness and self-compassion have the power to change the energy of a room, the atmosphere of a workplace, or the dynamics of a family. When we show up with awareness and care, others take notice. We inspire them to do the same. And before we know it, we've created a community, a network, or even a movement of people who are living more mindfully and compassionately. It's important to remember that every act of kindness, every moment of presence, and every practice of self-compassion contributes to this collective movement. The more we embody these practices, the more we inspire others to do the same. Together, we create a world where mindfulness and compassion flow freely. As you continue on your mindfulness and self-compassion journey, remember that your practice is not just for you, it's for the world. By embodying these practices, you create a ripple effect that touches the lives of everyone around you. Your presence, your kindness, and your awareness inspire others to live more mindfully and compassionately, creating a collective movement toward a more peaceful, kind, and loving world. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to maintain your practice and continue growing in mindfulness and self-compassion, even as you share it with others. We'll discuss how to stay connected to your purpose, how to continue evolving, and how to keep the flame of mindfulness burning brightly in your life. Chapter 10. The Lifelong Journey of Growth. What if the mindfulness and self-compassion practices you've embraced today are just the beginning? What if your personal growth doesn't stop, but instead evolves over the course of your life? The practices you've learned in these pages can continue to shape, guide, and transform you for years to come, as long as you stay open, stay present, and keep going. Congratulations on reaching this point in your mindfulness and self-compassion journey. By now, you've learned how powerful these practices can be in your life. You've seen how they can help you manage stress, transform negative thinking, and cultivate a deep sense of peace and presence. You've explored how these practices affect your relationships, your community, and the world at large. But the truth is, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Mindfulness and self-compassion are lifelong practices. As you continue down this path, you'll find that these tools are not one-time fixes or quick solutions, but ongoing sources of growth, healing, and transformation. Your life is a dynamic, ever-changing process, and the practices you've learned can help you navigate every stage of that journey with greater awareness, patience, and love. In this chapter, we'll explore how to continue cultivating mindfulness and self-compassion over the years, how to stay grounded in these practices even as life changes, and how to evolve and grow with them. The goal is not to be perfect, It's to stay committed to your practice and embrace the ongoing nature of self-growth. Embracing the evolution of your practice. Mindfulness and self-compassion are not static. They evolve with you. As you progress through different stages of life, your relationship with these practices will shift, deepen, and expand. What worked for you in the early stages of your practice may not be as relevant as you move forward, and that's perfectly okay. In fact, it's a sign of growth. In the beginning, mindfulness may have been a tool to manage stress or emotional overwhelm. As time goes on, you may begin to use it to explore deeper layers of your inner world, to heal past wounds, or to cultivate a profound sense of gratitude and joy. Self-compassion, too, may start as a way to soften the inner critic and grow kinder toward yourself, but over time, it may become a guiding force in how you make decisions, how you set boundaries, and how you navigate your relationships with others. The key to sustaining your practice over time is to remain open to its evolution. Don't hold on too tightly to how things should look or how they used to be. Instead, allow your practice to flow and change with you. Let it grow as you grow, and trust that it will continue to meet your needs in different ways as your life unfolds. The power of continued self-awareness. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is the self-awareness it cultivates. This awareness is the foundation for all personal growth. It's what allows us to see our patterns, understand our triggers, and make intentional choices. But self-awareness is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process that evolves as we do. As you continue to practice mindfulness, you'll likely encounter new challenges, new patterns of thinking, and new areas of growth. These may arise as a result of life transitions, changes in your career, relationships, health, or personal circumstances. They may also arise from the natural process of aging. As you reflect on your past and look ahead to your future, regardless of the source, these challenges offer valuable opportunities for growth. The key to continued self-awareness is to approach each new stage of life with curiosity and compassion. Rather than seeing challenges as setbacks, view them as opportunities to deepen your practice. Ask yourself, what is this experience teaching me? How can I use mindfulness to stay present and compassionate during this time? This self-inquiry will help you stay connected to your practice, even when things feel uncertain or overwhelming. The role of patience and self-kindness. As you continue to grow, it's important to remember the value of patience and self-kindness. Personal transformation is not always linear. There will be times when it feels like you're making tremendous progress, and there will be times when it feels like you're moving backward. This is normal, and it's part of the process. Mindfulness and self-compassion are practices that require patience. When you encounter setbacks or face periods of stagnation, it's easy to become frustrated or discouraged. But it's important to remind yourself that these are just temporary phases. The key is to stay present, to show up for yourself, and to offer yourself the same love and compassion you would offer to a friend in a similar situation. When things feel difficult, practice patience by allowing yourself to feel whatever emotions arise, without judgment. Acknowledge that growth is messy and nonlinear, and that every moment of struggle is an opportunity to deepen your connection with yourself. Self-compassion, in particular, allows you to soften the harshness of self-criticism and instead approach yourself with warmth and understanding. Staying present amidst change. One of the most profound gifts of mindfulness is the ability to stay present, especially in times of change. Life is full of transitions, some anticipated, some unexpected, and these changes can trigger feelings of anxiety, fear, or resistance. Whether you're moving to a new city, starting a new job, experiencing a personal loss, or navigating a significant life event, staying present can help you navigate these transitions with greater ease and peace. Mindfulness gives you the tools to stay grounded during times of change. Instead of becoming consumed by worries about the future or regrets about the past, mindfulness helps you center yourself in the here and now. When you face uncertainty, remind yourself to breathe deeply and focus on the present moment. Recognize that while change is inevitable, it doesn't have to be a source of stress. You can navigate it with mindfulness, curiosity, and a sense of grounded presence. In times of change, self-compassion is also crucial. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we're going through difficult transitions, but self-compassion allows us to approach ourselves with kindness and care. During moments of uncertainty or difficulty, remind yourself that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel overwhelmed or unsure. You don't have to have everything figured out. You can be gentle with yourself during the process. Integrating mindfulness into daily life. As you continue your journey, it's important to keep integrating mindfulness into your daily life. Mindfulness isn't just something you do in a meditation session or during a specific practice. It's a way of being. It's about bringing awareness into every moment of your day, from the mundane to the extraordinary. Start by finding simple ways to weave mindfulness into your routine. Whether you're brushing your teeth, walking to work, or having a conversation with a loved one, there are endless opportunities to be present. Each of these moments is an opportunity to practice mindfulness and deepen your connection to the present moment. Another way to integrate mindfulness is by practicing mindful breathing throughout the day. Whenever you feel stressed or overwhelmed, pause for a few moments and take a few deep breaths. Focus on the sensation of the breath entering and leaving your body. This simple practice can help you recenter and return to a place of calm and presence. Self-compassion is also a vital part of daily life. Take moments throughout the day to check in with yourself. Are you treating yourself with kindness? Are you giving yourself the space to rest and recharge? Self-compassion is about being aware of your needs and honoring them, even during busy or challenging times. The journey of mindfulness and self-compassion is not one of static achievement. It is one of continuous learning. There will always be new practices to explore, new insights to discover, and new ways to deepen your understanding. Just as the world around you is constantly changing, so too is your inner world, and mindfulness and self-compassion offer you the tools to navigate that inner evolution. Consider exploring different mindfulness techniques or expanding your practice. There are many forms of meditation, yoga, and breathing exercises that can help deepen your connection to yourself. You may also choose to read more books, attend workshops, or connect with others who are on a similar journey. Continuous learning helps keep your practice fresh and exciting, and it opens up new avenues for growth. Self-compassion also encourages ongoing learning. It reminds you that you are a work in progress, always evolving, always learning, always growing. Embrace the process of learning with a sense of curiosity, and remember that there is no final destination. The journey itself is what matters most. Mindfulness and self-compassion are not about reaching a final goal.